Hello team, welcome to Closing Day, Winter Games Day 17, where we are given an array of arrays, each one of these arrays being an event that has gold, silver, and bronze, and we need to tabulate or total those into the final country counts for each metal. So we are going to output how many golds, how many silvers, how many bronzes, and the total metals for each country. The kicker here is that we have to jump through an extra sort of hoop here to get our final output, which is going to be comma separated values. But shouldn't be that hard. We should be able to get it done pretty smoothly. So over here, we have our first bit. Right here, I'm going to call it map data. And it's going to be set to get country metals. Let's type it right. And we're going to pass in winners. Okay, this is going to be our first step in what is a few functions that we have to build out. So copying this, moving it up, and adding function in front of it. Okay. Now, right here, we return not winners. Let's change this to data, right? Because winners doesn't mean anything inside of this function. But let's change it to data and data dot reduce like this, which means that we have ACC and current, right? The accumulator, the current, we're going to get that and do stuff. Well, we're going to return the accumulator every single time and set our initial data to new map. You've probably never used map this way before, but you absolutely can. You can have any initial value you want. In this case, I'm using a map because it's easy to access keys and values, right? It's also easy to iterate and loop through later on if we had to do that. We won't have to do that today, but I love using map because of the flexibility it brings. So for me, it's map. If you wanted to use an object or an array, you can. You'll just need to change a few steps along the way, okay? But returning it right here, now we can access current, okay? And current is another array, right? We have this array inside of here with these three items, gold, silver, and bronze. So for that, we are going to for each, right? Whenever we have a multi-dimensional array, we're kind of in it for at least two loops. One to loop over the rows, one to loop over the columns, okay? So this is our second one. I'm going to use a for each for this, and we're going to set item, and I need the index on that because the index is going to relate to that metal position, right? Gold being index 0, silver being index 1, and so on down the line, okay? First step inside of here is to figure out if we already have that country in our map, okay? So we can go const country like this and set it to the accumulator dot get item, okay? If it's not there, this is going to be undefined, which is perfectly fine, okay? So we can return something else that is going to be 0, 0, 0, 0 for our starting position. This is gold, silver, bronze, and totals, okay? We have them just like that. Again, if you needed more detail in your final output from this function, you can change this. You can change it to an object which has key value pairs or something else, right? Some other data structure that works for you. This works for me, so I'm going to stick with it, and we are going to do it. The first is the metal itself. So again, index relates directly to metal, whether it's gold, silver, or bronze, right? Gold, silver, or bronze. So we can update these with index. And we add one to that, just like this. Why isn't it doing stuff? What is going on here? Because this should be country, not const. There it is. Brilliant, okay? Spelling things wrong already, so it's going to be a good one, right? We're going to hopefully not have that many mistakes, but maybe a couple, right? Index 3 is our total, so we need to increment that every single time. That is plus equals, not equals plus, just like this. Brilliant. And then we take all of this goodness, whether we got it and updated it or whether we created a new thing, and we send it back into the accumulator. So accumulator.set, that is item, which is the one that we got, and our country data. Okay, that's a lot. So take a second. Okay, let's review. We went through the rows of data. Okay, and for each row of data, we are basically breaking apart those three values and running over each of them. Okay, we're figuring out which country it is, because that's how we've sorted it, or that's how they've supplied it: USA, Canada, Norway, right? Figuring out if we already have that. If we do, we're going to update it. If we don't, we're going to create a new one. Okay, and then we do the update, and then we push that or re-add that back into our accumulator and return the accumulator. Which means that, what are we returning down here? Well, we're returning a map, which is why I conveniently call it map data to help me, okay? But now that we have that, we can send that somewhere else, okay? In this case, we can sort it, okay? So we're going to call this sort by gold. That seems like a useful name, and we are going to pass in map data. There's a key here, though, okay? At least for me, I don't want this to always have to worry about what data is being sent in. If it's an array, great, we can kind of work on it. If it's something else, we need to change it to an array for that sort. Not really happy about doing that inside of that function, so I'm going to do it right here, okay? Expanding this out and making it an array. That array will be the index 0 will be the country. Index 1 will be this array of metal counts, okay? We'll talk about that in a second, but let's create this function. So right here, function, just like this. This is not a useful name for the argument. We'll just call it data again. Going to be a lot of that today, okay? And then we return data.sort. Actually, we don't want this. So stopping for a second, data.sort will change data in place and then return that exact same reference. So if we were passing in, let's say we had, we didn't create a new object like this. Instead, we had map array or something like that, and we pass that in. So, array data, okay, as an example. We'll back this out in a second. So if we pass in array data, and maybe that came from here, okay, well, now, once we do this sort, we've actually updated that, which creates side effects in everything that comes after this. That is a terrible thing, because arrays and objects are passed by reference, right? Don't forget, it's very important. So what we want, backing all this out for a second, right here, excellent, is, in this case, it's not a problem because we created a new one inline. But if we ever passed in actual data from somewhere that was already done, now we do have a problem, because it will update outside of this function. It will pass that reference back up the chain, and that's bad news. We have two options here. We can create a new thing right here, or we can use the super handy and super new toSorted method, okay? And toSorted always returns a new array. So all the same things are in here. We have A and B, and we do stuff. What do? Well, we return B minus A, okay? Again, it's not going to work because our data is wrong. We're passing in arrays, and we're asking it to sort based on array. That's never going to work. Instead, we need to reach into index 1, which is going to be that metal count array. And then from there, we get index 0, which is the gold metal, okay? So copying that, pasting it over here so that we got it. And this gets us the most metals to the least metals, right? Biggest to smallest. But what if the metal counts are the same, okay? So we take this one, we go up here, and if B is equal to, if B's gold metals are equal to A's gold metals, well, now we want to sort ascending for the country name, okay? And for that, we can do return again, return A0, because remember, when we converted it, the 0 index is the key from the map, which is the country name. So perfect, right? We have that. We take that, we go locale compare, just like this, and of course, B0, okay? So if it's a number, we're going biggest to smallest. If it's the country, we're going alphabetically from A to Z, okay? Another big one, but I think hopefully that's making sense, where we're either doing it by the gold medals or by the name itself, okay? It's weird that they didn't do it by totals. I don't know why. Maybe they had their moment, but moving on, okay? We have that sorted, which means that now we just need that final step. And this one is going to be array to CSV, and we're going to pass in sorted, okay? Again, another function that we haven't created, so we're going to do that. Function right here, data. Again, lots of, that's probably a terrible name for those arguments. Pick better ones if you can think of them, okay? But here we are. We are in the final bit, okay? And the final bit requires a header, okay? That header is this information right here, because we are always going to pass that in. You'll notice it's down here as well. I could just go and copy and paste any of these, bring it right back, finding that, and in quotes, pasting it in. Putting it in its own variable means that I can quickly update this to whatever I need. Not a problem. Down here, we also have some stuff, okay? So we can return our information, okay? First bit is the header, obviously, because if we look at this, we have that header and then all this information. Excellent. Same with this, that header. It's a new line. Here it's wrapping. Here they have the actual character and then the information. This is actually what we're looking for. And most editors will just naturally output it this way, okay? So again, going down, we have those backticks. We get right here, this is going to be header with a /n, and then this data, okay? And we haven't actually done this data yet, so let's go and do that. That's going to be right here, and it is going to be a map, okay? So const CSV data, okay? That's going to be data.map, and we just get the item, passing it in, doing something. Excellent. What are we doing? Well, remember, again, this information, it's a string and an array. So what we should do is we should flatten it out, okay? There are many ways to do that. We could go const output equals an array where we get the item 0, and then we spread in item, if I could type it right, item 1, okay? That would do it, and that gets the job done. Or we could just take item.flat and be done with it, okay? So if we have access to flat, we can just use that. We don't need to pass in arguments because the default is 1, and we only need to collapse it one step, okay? But there's our output, which means that we can return output.join on the comma, just like this, which gives us this CSV data, which we go here, .join on the return, which means that it's done, okay? Again, a lot of work, so let's quickly review. We started by creating a function to get our data in a more useful way, okay? In this case, I used a map, but you can use other things if that's more comfortable for you. The key is that we went through here and tested to see if that country was already in the map or in that data structure. If it wasn't, we added the data that we needed, incremented it where we needed it, and sent it back into the accumulator, which we always return. From there, we took that, made an array, and sorted it. We sorted it biggest to smallest based on the gold medals, unless they were the same, in which case we did alphabetical on country name, okay? And then finally, we work that output so that we get our final bit. And again, it all works. Each one of these should be individually testable, right? Really nice. keeping that main function pretty lean, pretty abstracted away, easy to work with. At least I think so. But it was a lot. So are there parts of this that you like? Are there parts of this that you hate? Are there parts of this that you would have done differently? Hit me up in the comments. Let me know. Otherwise, this has been Winter Games Day 17, the closing day, the last day of the Olympics. And I will see you tomorrow for a new one.